Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. I am so excited. Welcome to, once again, this Transformational Life series. This is a discussion series. It is my honor to be here with all of you with our speaker today, Lisa Zoe Morgan. Lisa, thank you so much. Lisa is an incredible person. I've known her for a few years. She's an amazing soul, amazing woman, incredible spirit. And, no doubt you are going to receive some incredible, inspiring, and truly, not overstating it, this conversation for each of you today is going to truly be able to transform. So I am super excited, and without further ado, I will introduce you all. Lisa, hello. Thank you so much again. It would be great if you'd like to share with everyone a little bit more about you and what you do.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for that lovely introduction. I'm very honoured to be here, and I'm really excited to get into this talk everything. So thank you so much. So my name's Lisa Zoe Morgan, and basically my work is to awaken and connect women to their divine feminine energy. And for me, the divine feminine energy is women that are in their full potential, their full power, their full creativity, their full passion, and their full purpose, or at least stepping into that role. So what I do is I channel with the goddesses, I heal with the goddesses, I give guidance with the goddesses, but I also work with energy therapies, with kinesiology, muscle testing primarily, because as women start to step into their divine feminine, as they start to step into their true potential, like lots of fears, doubts, and worries come up from, a lot of women are afraid of stepping into their full potential, afraid of being this amazing woman that they truly are. So along with the goddess guidance, along with the healings, I work with muscle testing and kinesiology to clear all the blocks and clear the path so they can begin to step into that full version of themselves.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And, everyone watching and listening, again, at the end of the conversation, you're going to have a longer opportunity for Lisa to share even more about what she does. So we will get into that. But thank you. That was a perfect introduction and a great start. Part of, again, what I've been able, and each of our speakers have been able to share with everyone is, literally life moments, turning points, things that have really helped each of you to inspire and have helped to shape you along the way. And, a great place to start as we look at all of these things often can be the beginning. And so what I'd like to do is to ask you, Lisa, what was life like for you as a young girl? Who was little Lisa? What was life like? Who were some of the people that were in your life at that time?
Little Lisa, that's cute. My mum had me very early. She was 16, so she was just a baby. So I spent a lot of time being passed between my relatives. So I was kind of spoiled a bit by them, I guess. And I formed a really strong relationship with my grandma. She was almost like my mum. So to me, I enjoyed being passed around between the sisters. It was a really nice kind of community feel. They did anything for me. It was just a really, really nice experience. And I think my mum and my dad split up when I was very young. So around the age of 5, that's when my stepdad, still with my mum, that's when he came into my life. I think, it was around 5 years old. And feel like things changed so much when he came into our lives. For one, it almost provided a bit more of a stable kind of family base. So I did spend more time at home, spent more time with my mum, with my stepdad. It was a really, I don't know, it was a really interesting experience because I think being brought up around my aunties, they were very strong women, very strong women. They were very independent women. They were women who spoke their truth, spoke their mind. Being brought up with my grandma as well, she wasn't with my granddad. In fact, when she had the 7 children, it was very much her bringing the kids up on her own. And she always talks about this, about bringing 7 kids up on their own, you know. So she was very independent. She was used to doing everything herself. So I think from an early age, it was kind of instilled into me that I can do that. You know, I did have those role models around me that allowed me to see that I could be independent. I could do things by myself. So I think that was, I don't know, it's a really nice environment to be in. But at the same time, as the talk goes on, you'll see it was kind of a little bit detrimental too. So it's amazing being brought up in that environment, but at the same time, it wasn't as good. But also, like with my stepdad coming in, he was from a different area of the UK. He was very different to my family, and I grew up in Yorkshire, so I had a really strong Yorkshire accent, very strong. He was kind of from down south, so when he came into our family, everything that I said was corrected. Everything that I did was a really different way of doing it, of doing things. So from a really early age, because of him correcting things, I became really almost self-conscious. I say self-aware now, because it kind of really taught me to look at who I was and how I did things, rather than just directly react to things or just kind of say or do things without thinking about it too much. So he's a big factor in my personal development, my personal growth, in terms of awareness of myself and the work that I do now. You know, obviously in this line of work, you do a lot of kind of inner work. You do a lot of going back to your childhood and working through that. And definitely one of the things for me when it comes up with my stepdad is that self-awareness. And, you know, everybody who comes into your life, especially when they play such a big role, such as a parent figure, really influences the direction of your life. So I know with the way my life was, because I've also had experience of two sides of the story all the way through my life. I've always experienced these two sides. So when before my mum met my stepdad, I was living in quite a deprived area, going to quite like a really basic kind of rough school. And so I experienced that side of life. But then when my stepdad came in, he worked really, really hard, very, very hard. And eventually I got sent to a school that was a private school, which was a really, really good school. So I've experienced like kind of the deprivation of a really poor school, and then the opposite side of going to a really, really good school. So yeah, he did, you know, life did change after that hugely. So I feel like, you know, having that experience of both sides has really prepared me for who I am and who I've become, and also kind of relating to people from all areas of life. Like I've not just had, you know, a really narrow viewpoint of private school or a narrow viewpoint of public school either. And also being a Libra, it's those extremes, you know, of like one end of the spectrum to the other, and just finding that balance always.
You know, switching gears slightly, but furthering along with your journey, again, you know, just now we've been talking about how you have experienced a lot of different aspects of life. a lot of, the different viewpoints of how things can be. And for those who may not know, obviously I know this because I know you also, but not everyone may be aware that in your professional life, in your past, you used to work for the NHS as well. So, quite a very, sciencey, mainstream medical field. What was that like for you? And also, what inspired you to want to be a part of that work at that point in your life?
Yeah, good question. I often ask this myself. Like with everybody that's watching, every job that they've ever done, it all contributes to eventually to your purpose. Every single thing that you do in life all plays a part, and sometimes I've just, looked at my old life as a radiographer working in the hospital and gone, no, why? But it really informs again and complements the work that I do now, and I'm so glad that I went that route. So everything does work out exactly how it's meant to be.
Yeah.
So radiography, basically talking about me going to a private school, going to a nice school, I felt guilty because my parents were spending a lot of money on my education. So again, this is how, my dad's kind of influenced my life. I know that I wouldn't be doing this if my dad hadn't come into my life. But then again, it might have happened another way anyway, because it's destiny. We're supposed to get into the path that we're supposed to be on anyway. Somehow it'll just happen. But being at really nice schools, I felt the pressure. My parents are very normal, i.e. not spiritual, into healing, just very kind of working to get money, very practical, very grounded, and kind of judgmental sometimes. So I, at an early age, kind of was asked what I want to be, and I wanted to be a vet, I wanted to be a doctor. As I got into kind of teenage years, I got really interested in psychology, and I initially thought I wanted to be a psychiatrist until I realized later they just kind of deal with drugs rather than the kind of the psychology aspect.
Yeah.
But this was almost like the conditioning of my parents to get a good job, basically. So even though I loved languages and art at school, my parents would say, what job are you going to get? And I didn't know. I was very much into my sciences. I loved biology. I loved physics. I quite liked chemistry, not as much as the other two. So I always had that really practical side. And I think it was growing up with my parents that was so practical anyway and so hands-on that I took that aboard myself. Plus them sending me to a nice school, it was kind of like, okay, well, let's do psychiatry, which meant going into medicine really first. So yeah, I wanted to do like physics, I think physics, biology and arts and a language as well, but they wouldn't do it at the school that I was with. So then I went to a public school, state school, for my A levels. But they didn't do it there either. So I don't know why I was there, but obviously I was meant to go to this other school. So yeah, doing all sciences then at this school, I didn't work as hard as I should have, or I didn't really get the grades that I should have. So just kind of chose radiography a bit more spur of the moment. I wanted to get into the hospital. Maybe I could have transferred to medicine if I wanted to. I just wanted to do something really practical but also vocational, because it was really drilled into me that I needed a job, basically. But I never knew like people really did things that they really loved. Like I'd look at people who did art and languages and it'd just be like, I don't know, it was really drilled into me that you kind of just do things for the practical side of it. Not just to make ends meet, because they did have high standards of not just making ends meet, but actually earning a good wage. But it took me quite a while To realize that I kind of could have done what I love, but it was almost like I was following what they wanted for their children. And also wanted me to go to university. They hadn't been to university either. So it was like I was the firstborn out of me. I've got two brothers too. So I kind of set the precedent, which is really annoying, kind of like the way shower, the one who goes first and kind of works harder, and then the others just get the easy ride.
Oh. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
So yeah, getting into radiography, it was normal. You know, it was again scientific. It was a really practical, like operating the machinery. I'm a naturally really curious person. I like to get answers. And kind of doing radiography, it was diagnostic. So, you know, you do the CT scan, you do the X-rays, you work in theatre, and you see like the results of what's happening, kind of that people can't see. And I love that because it was really it fulfilled my mind of this is broken. This is the solution. Again, this is broken. This is the solution. This is what I really loved. So for me, you know, doing radiography was very normal. Although I realized not long after that I was a really sensitive person, and growing up in the family that I grew up in, they were not very sensitive. They were kind of cut off a bit to their sensitivity. And I think me growing up with more sensitivities and also with that awareness of who I was, I kind of shoved it away as a child. So getting into radiography, you know, I look back now and just go, what? How did I do that? You know, working in theatre, you know, working in casualty, and seeing all the things that I did. You have to have a really, really thick skin, like a shield. And I did, you know, I kind of covered a lot up. Get on with it. My family was very much kind of just get on with it.
Yeah.
So it's now looking back that I realized that yes, I liked it. Yes, I got on with it, but I was kind of getting out of alignment. And I didn't realize it. I was just plodding on in the way that I thought I should go, like working crazy hours, crazy hours, like 90-hour weeks. And then, like after a 24-hour shift, you know, going shopping, and then partying at the weekend. Like my life was very busy. I pushed myself to the max. I really did.
You know, it's the kind of thing that I think a lot of us hear as being, you know, the life of a doctor or the life of someone who's training to be a doctor. And it is like these sounding crazy hours, because there comes a point where it's got to no longer be sustainable, right? Because yes, we are incredible beings, and you are an amazing, incredible being, but we're also in these human bodies. And, you know, and so I can imagine, and I know what's coming, but the audience doesn't. But, you know, you also reached your threshold point. Like anyone would, really, if they were doing this day in, day out, and over a long period of time, because, you know, it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable, but also it was almost like I had numbed myself to everything, you know. And what I realized afterwards was that people are more in touch with themselves, of how they feel, of whether they need a break, of whether they need to work more, finding life balance. All I knew, and this is what I want to come back to with what we were talking about with childhood, is that whole thing of can-do attitude, which is amazing. That independence, this is where it was more detrimental, because it's like, I can do anything. I can do anything I put my mind to, I can do. And my dad also brought me up that way. You know, in his work, you know, he taught me to say, I can do anything, then go away and learn it. So growing up with my two brothers, it was almost like I was being brought up as a boy. You know? So, being surrounded by men in my family, and this attitude of I can do anything kind of pushed me to keep working beyond my limits. And as I was saying, because I felt now in retrospect that I was a sensitive person, it wasn't beneficial. I mean, it was beneficial because I got through work and I did it, but at the same time, it kind of cut off a lot of my connection to myself. So, for example, working in the hospital, it was constantly busy in A&E. Like all those hours of work that we did, it was one thing after another, like going here, going there, and just not stopping. It was just continuous work, continuous doing. And I kind of, the image I'm getting now is just me just on a treadmill, just going and going and going, and just getting into this habit of continuously going and going and going.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then, after going and going and going and reaching sort of, I suppose what you could say was a bit of an endpoint where your body said, okay, enough. We need a break. You need a break. I know, not everyone in the audience will know, but obviously I know that there came, because we know each other, but there came a point where you were in India. And that coincided with kind of that end point, really.
Yeah.
What was that like?
No, and even to this day, again, I still ask that question, like, why did I go to India? Like, here I was, this normal person, totally cut off from kind of myself and my emotions and working so hard and pushing myself. But I went traveling, I was supposed to go for 6 months to Australia, New Zealand, and India. Was to just get a break from life, get a break from working. I also had a Kiwi boyfriend at the time, and compared to English people, they kind of had a different mentality of work. So it's no coincidence that I got involved with him, because he was kind of saying, show me a different way of being, not the English way of like just working constantly all year, like let's work and then let's go traveling, which was great. So India, I don't know why I chose India, because I wasn't into anything spiritual. I just started getting into yoga and meditation before I left. But even then, I was just like, this is weird, So going to India was a bit of a culture shock. I was terrified. Also, it was full of kind of religious people, which I wasn't at all, and I wasn't remotely into faith, or I was a scientist. I had like really scientific views, and then going to India, it was shocking. It was scary for me. It was amazing at the same time, but I was so closed I couldn't open to it. I was scared. But I went to India last, and it was Australia and New Zealand that I was in first, that I really started to slow that pace down in life. It was very weird to start slowing that pace down, really experiencing that. But as I did that, I was getting very tired. We'd go on long hikes, and immediately afterwards I just like literally fall asleep like this, which was unusual for me, and I was starting to get really worried about my health. Those hours in the morning, not being able to wake up, not being able to do stuff, and I thought something was wrong with me. So getting to India, I kind of went into India not feeling that well either. So I guess that whole thing of not feeling well, it's almost like when you don't feel well physically, mentally you can't kind of handle situations as much or as well as you can when you're feeling physically strong. So India was challenging, at least.
Absolutely, yeah. So just sort of setting the scene for everyone. So you were in India, feeling really, really ill, there on vacation or holiday, depending on what country you were brought up in. But, point being that wasn't your home. Totally like a fish out of water, outside of your comfort zone, outside of kind of, the world bubble that you had so far been living in. And you felt and became very, very ill. What happened next?
I mean, the whole getting ill was very traumatic. Basically, very briefly, my ex was going to hire a motorbike, and I got sick in a cafe. We thought I'd been poisoned because the guy in the cafe was talking about doing some sort of medical scam, which was like, it was all too much. It was very surreal. It was very intense. It was very scary. So I got rushed to hospital on a motorbike, on the back of a motorbike, by the cafe, who took me to the same kind of, what we said at the time was a quack doctor, we said, because it was the same place they wanted to do the scam at. So I arrived, in this place, but I was in a really bad way. My whole body had kind of tensed up like this. I couldn't move. I didn't know what was happening to me. So really, the whole thing about being taken to the wrong hospital was far out of my mind. All I felt was, I'm going to die here, And it was a scary experience because it was a third world country, and I was just like, I am like a fish out of water, and I die here. It was a really, really scary experience. So yeah, it was very unnerving, very unsettling. I was very sick. I was hallucinating badly. And the doctor, I remember like I was sat in bed, and there were literally, I could see frogs falling down around me. I was I was really hallucinating. And the doctor came in and he just said to me, do you believe in God? And all I'm thinking is, no. What? And he just said, if you do, pray now.
Wow.
So I was like,
wow.
Who wasn't into like spirituality or anything alternative, like that freaked the hell out of me. It did not give me any kind of reassurance whatsoever. Like, here I am, really, really sick, thinking I'm going to die, and I'm asked to pray by the actual doctor.
Yeah.
That's how far our worlds were apart in India. So yeah, it was a really eye-opening experience, and yeah, they didn't know if I had dengue fever or malaria. They injected me with tons of drugs, tons and tons. I couldn't even walk, and after about a week, we were not permitted to leave, but we left kind of in the night because we were unsure about their treatments. So it was just like, it was just stress on top of stress on top of stress. And then when I left, like, we didn't go home straight away. I traveled a little bit more, but carrying a backpack, not being able to walk very much, like the heat, everything that had happened, it was a huge burden. It really was, an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also amazed and a little bit shocked that you were able to keep traveling after that, because
the thing is, I think, I was just, when you get sick, usually you recover quite soon. If you get flu, you're going to be better like max a week and a half, So me being there and being the practical person that I was at the time, it's like, I'm going to get better from this. So we did, but the stress on my body was quite big. And the stress, like in terms of being in that foreign country, experiencing the experiences that I wasn't used to, it was really stressful. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. So fast forward a bit, because obviously that was then. This is now. You're clearly healthy. You're not on a hospital. You're not in a hospital. You're not laying in bed, unable to move. So what happened, for those who don't know, what happened to get you from there, maybe not to where you are now, but to at least be feeling healthier so you could get out of bed, so you could move around?
Well, it was a very long, arduous journey, but a very important, amazing one at the same time, mostly in retrospect. But at the same time, I had to learn to be really happy where I was. Because getting home, I was going to study osteopathy. It was like my kind of pathway into something a bit more alternative. I'd had some osteopathy sessions, which were to do with cranial, like sacral therapy. And I was starting to kind of show a bit more interest in more holistic way of living. So that seemed a bit alternative to radiography. But obviously I got back. I thought that my life was about to begin for the better, but it got worse. I'm really grateful, to be honest, to have had an amazing doctor at home. I got home, literally, I was out for, maybe I was awake an hour a day, you know? It was a feeling of, I was sleeping, but whereas usually if you sleep, you wake up refreshed, the more I slept, the more I was tired. To the
Oh, wow.
again, it's like, it's so hard to explain the feeling. Again, it feels like you're going to die. It's like, I get more tired than I already am. So you keep sleeping, but you get more tired. And the way, I remember after I started to get a bit better, I was writing some poetry just to kind of express what was going on. But the way I describe it is having severe flu, you know, the sort of flu that knocks you out in bed.
Yeah.
Then running a marathon uphill whilst being hit with a baseball bat. Like my whole body ached. It was,
wow.
It's a tiredness I've never experienced in my life before. And it wasn't just a tiredness. I couldn't concentrate on what anybody was saying, like little noises. If I heard noises at night, then they'd wake me up. I'd be on alert. My body was really on alert. It was a really awful time in my life, and I think I got through it by, you know, being able to sleep so much. Like it was like that for a few months. I had a good doctor who diagnosed me with post-viral fatigue syndrome, or chronic fatigue syndrome. But basically he said it may take 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 20 years, or you'll never get better.
Good Lord.
So,
well, the diagnosis.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess you can gather that I'm a really ambitious person. I've got all these plans for my future, and then being told that, it's just like, you know, it's almost like the rug's being pulled from beneath the world. Kind of feels like it's ending, you know, like what's the prognosis? And also because I'd come from that medical background, there's no cure, you know?
Yes.
You don't know if it'll take 2 weeks, 20 years, or never. And again, my life doing radiography was almost like problem, solution, you know? And here I was with a problem and no solution. And I had lots of tests. All the tests came back as normal. So my focus all the time was getting back to normal. And yeah, I guess that was the period more when I was with my parents. Then I started to get into more alternative ways of getting better, because this was after a while. Because I didn't know really that there were alternative ways. Because I'd been brought up in that science way. But then I was faced with the decisions of, well, if science can't help me, what now?
Yeah.
So that's when I started looking. And I know if this hadn't have happened to me, that would not have happened, because I was in a state of, well, between a rock and a hard place, basically. Like, where do I go from here?
Mm.
way was, there's something wrong. There needs to be a solution. My science brain kicking in. But
Yeah.
that led me to kind of explore, like, do I need to look at my psychology? That's what I started with first, because it was a bit more tangible and a bit more scientific. So I would start buying books, start getting books. I would be able to read sometimes a sentence at a time. It took me a long while to finish these books.
Wow.
I was really determined, you know, like I couldn't keep my eyes open. I couldn't hold a book up. Like holding my eyelids open was hard. But as I started to read a little bit more and kind of think about, you know, how was my childhood? What do I need to look at? What do I need to work with? Then I started to connect more with the spiritual stuff. Because I have not been brought up with a religious background, but I've always known myself to pray as a child. I didn't pray kind of teenage years onwards. I always wrote as a child, inspired by Adrian Mole. Do you know Adrian Mole?
Oh, not in the US, but basically, for those who don't know, Adrian Mole, briefly, is an amazing series of books about this teenage boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just like writes, it's the secret diary of Adrian Mole. I think he's aged 13 3/4.
Yes.
I kept a diary, you know, I wrote a lot when I was younger, and then I stopped. But I got back into writing. It was a great outlet for me to express, especially going through so much. I had to express my feelings. I started writing poetry, you know, talking about, you know, how alone I felt, like everything that was going on within me. It really helped, you know, start to move things. But also I started to pray. I started, I connected with Doreen Virtue's work. And that was very angelic at the time. So I started talking to angels. I started praying, you know, and it really helped me, like, develop faith, because if I didn't have faith, then I would have not wanted to live, you know, just knowing that this may be my life forever. You know, I had to have that faith that I will get better. And that's all I kept telling myself. And then obviously there were moments where it felt like it had never happened. But again, I had to keep tuning into that faith, praying to the angels, asking for help to get signs. And those signs started to come, like little signs for things. And then because I spent so much time, you know, in bed, I would close my eyes and I'd almost do my own meditations of visualizing me running, you know, visualizing me being in the outside world. And when I opened my eyes again, I'd feel free, like freer. You know?
Yeah.
It's almost like I started developing my own way because it was just me. Something to, you know, start, I don't know, thinking of getting better or getting myself better. So basically this kind of progressed, this whole spiritual thing, this whole psychology thing, me reading more books, of me realizing then that when I did things that made me happier, I felt slightly better in my body. When I read certain things, I feel slightly better in my body. Started like looking into ways to get better. I found, I think it was called Mickle reverse therapy, and that was to do with listening to your body, see what it wanted to do. And that was amazing because I'd never done that before. So I think, you know, I want a drink of water, and then you tune in to see what your body was feeling or what it was thinking at the time. And if it got scared, because obviously me walking to get a drink of water sometimes meant then I'd have to spend the next few days in bed. So, like, becoming aware of what was going on with your body and what your body wanted to do and how it felt. But what kept happening then was that I would get out of the house, and as I was walking, like, say, you know, 20, 30 meters down the path, my body would just freak out. So there was some fear there that I couldn't kind of get over. And this led me then to discover NLP, discover a chronic fatigue clinic in London that I went to have. I had one session there, and basically the lady said to me, you are doing, you know, the things that we teach intuitively. So kind of walking out of the house to get a drink, you know, get milk or whatever. But I knew intuitively I had to really focus my mind, like remove stress, not get stressed, and really concentrate. And that's what started getting me out. And then with going to this chronic fatigue clinic, learning their techniques, knowing that I'm doing it right, you know, that what I'm doing, it will work eventually. Because that's the thing, if you're doing something you don't know is working, then you kind of stop and give up. But they confirmed, you know, what you're doing is right, and we'll teach you some more stuff. I went into the Reiki shop. I was able to tell her what was going on, and she just said, why don't you have a Reiki session? And things changed really dramatically from that day, because I got home and I could speak to my boyfriend. I felt like I had more energy. He was so taken by what had happened. He was like, I'm going to buy you a session every week. So I did. That was a real start of like my spiritual journey, like opening up to energy again and connecting to myself, connecting to other energies. And it really felt like that path that was so right. So I trained in Reiki as well. I went to the clinic to do the NLP training. On to be a master practitioner and everything with that, and hypnosis and coaching. But every part, it was almost like I had to learn it, and it wasn't like I wanted sessions. It was almost like I needed to train in it. Everything I did to get me better felt like I had to train in it. I don't know. Well, I do know why now. Because I work with other people. But yeah, so NLP really helped, like, change my state. It helped me get out, meet friends, do things that I wasn't able to do. It took me a while. You know, I'd meet friends and I'd set off like a few hours early, so I'd do these practices to stop me getting stressed, and like be in a really healing state for me to get better. So this took years. It was years of me doing that, but it was almost like I didn't have a way. I had to find that way myself. Like if somebody would have been there mentoring me or knew exactly what I was going through, then that would have cut a lot of time out. But my way was to find it my way. And experience all the different trainings that I did. Because I mean, I went on to do, you know, really work with subconscious beliefs. Like I said, the hypnosis. Went on to do theta healing. So yeah, I learned so much in the process.
I love.
Again, it kind of lines up with how I see life now in terms of working towards a goal, like keeping that desire of what you want, but learning to be happy in the meantime. And even though, you know, there are many days that were very dark, you know, very dark. But at the same time, I'd never experienced so much happiness and joy at the same time, you know. And I'm not saying it was like that all the time. It really wasn't. But I'm talking about when I did experience joy or happiness, it was the depths, like the highest depths, or the deepest joy that I'd ever experienced before.
I love all of this, and it's fascinating to me as well. I mean, you and I, again, we've known each other a while, so some of this you've shared with me, but there's so much here that I didn't realize about your journey as well. So that it's all of this is amazing. And you know, one thing that occurred to me just in the last few moments of what you were just sharing is again how, you know, what we mentioned to everyone in the very beginning about, that your life and you really are an incredible example of, you know, living and experiencing life from all sides, all spectrums, that balance of things. And, for those who may not know, a lot of your work is beginning to incorporate more of, the divine feminine energy is one way to put it. Goddess energy is another way to put it. That is an incredible piece of your life journey pie of your puzzle thus far. And so one thing I'm curious about, and it feels like could be really interesting for people to hear and learn about as well, is one, well, first off, what attracted you to want to learn more and to go in this direction of the goddess and divine feminine energy? So, maybe a bit of what was your own personal interest. And through and with that, how has that shaped things for you as a person, but also your work?
So I feel that especially with our purpose, the more that we start bringing ourselves into the equation, the more that we can step into our purpose and fully express ourselves in that way. We're on track, we're aligned, we're in our purpose. And the whole divine feminine really is that of stepping into your particular purpose, power, all of that. It's just, I guess I know the wording more for it now. And before I started working more with the goddesses, there was a period where I'd obviously done all these trainings, energy therapies, and I do kinesiology, which was a huge part of the puzzle. And I'm not going to go into that because it's another story, but I had a lot of allergies, and I worked with kinesiology to correct all those allergies. That was another huge part. So kinesiology's played a huge part with everything that I've done. So before I got into the goddess work, I was working, I've always had this pull to work with women, always. So it's mainly been working with confidence with women, and then using the kinesiology to clear the blocks, using all the other energy therapies that I was working with. I would, really start helping women step into their power, work with the mindset, work with the emotions. And also I would receive really accurate punches, I would say. But as the work was going on, I knew it was like, I was getting messages when I was doing work with these clients. So in a way, it hasn't changed that much. It's felt like other aspects of me and my divine purpose has come in. It's almost like I've added to the work that I was doing, but in a deeper way. So the more you keep connecting to yourself, the deeper you go into yourself, the deeper you go into your purpose, and that kind of shines in the world. So I was doing a lot of work. I was doing Crete. Crete was the turning point. Before Crete, I was doing lots of coaching, getting really good results there. I was very happy. I was that person who could not wait to jump out of bed in the morning. I was like, right, can't wait. It's Monday. It's amazing. Having my group, having my clients, it was going really, really well. Life was great. And then Crete happened. It was very unexpected. So I was starting that process of kind of channeling, of writing. Then I had the holiday booked in Crete. It was a holiday with all the aunties that I talked about actually from the beginning that brought me up. So it was only me as the niece. Like I said, I was the firstborn, so I've got that closer connection with them. Quite nice, really. Again, they aren't as much into this as me. They are actually, when you talk to each one of them individual, and most people are when you start getting into a conversation, but on a surface level, they're not. And there's not that much deep talk that goes on. So I was looking forward to this holiday. So it was my aunties and also my uncle who lives over there. But at the same time, I was just like, oh, how am I going to do channeling? How am I going to do my yoga in the morning? How am I going to meditate? Because I was sharing a room with my mum as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't expecting, a huge transformation or a huge turning point in Crete, but when I got there, it was really good. Somehow it all worked out that my mum would leave in the morning, and go up for breakfast with my aunties, and I just used to write. And like I said, by this time I was really connecting to my guides and channeling. I had a really lovely guide, a female guide. But every day I kept writing, your life is about to change in a big way. Every single day it was the same thing, and I was like, really, at that point I had been doing the channeling, but still it was almost like I didn't know if I was doing it right, or was I getting the right answers? And these are like general fears that come up for people who do kind of channeling, working with guides and psychic work. But every day it was just the same thing, and that I meet some people who would some interesting and amazing people during this trip. And every day I just kept getting the same message, and it definitely, wasn't something that I expected. So I was like, okay, I'm paying attention. And yeah, so we didn't really meet any really amazing, interesting people. We keep ourselves to ourselves, but I did meet one guy who I met on a few occasions, who lived over there, who felt like he started this process of really opening my heart up. That was like the first kind of touch point for what was about to come. The next point was we visited a monastery, which was absolutely amazing, like me and my aunties. And as we were visiting the monastery, I remember kind of thinking, what should I wear? My auntie had like a low-cut top on and really short shorts, and I was thinking, is that appropriate? And then I was like, what? It made me start thinking of the way women are and the way that they should be. Especially like in a monastery, or just outside. I don't know, it just kind of got the cogs turning of how women should behave, how women should dress, how they should talk.
Yeah.
This was almost going on in the back of my head. We went to this monastery. It was absolutely amazing. But I really felt, I love sacred places. I feel most at home in churches. Like, I'm not religious, but I just feel at home in churches. So going to a monastery, it was like, it's a place where I felt quite at home. But there's this underlying feeling of almost like the presence of men, almost like, when I was reading the history of this monastery in Crete, it was kind of all to do with men, even though it's like the holy. And there was something that was a bit uneasy there.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, my aunties and mum, they're strong characters, so we were walking around this monastery all talking, and they were talking loud and laughing and being normal. But there was one point where we walked out of the monastery, and as we walked out of the exit, there was some priest sat there. I think he was a priest. He had all the attire on, looking kind of very old and wise and like just staring. Now, before we got to him, everyone was talking and giggling, and I was just behind my aunties. But as we saw him, they looked over and immediately, went quiet, head down, walked forward.
Wow.
And again, it was one of those things that I was like, what is this feeling? What's going on there? What's made these women shut up and be quiet and put their heads down and like kind of bow almost as they're walking out? So this started triggering things, but I didn't think overly anything about it until I got back home. I didn't want to work. I couldn't go in my Facebook group. I couldn't post. I couldn't sell my services. I didn't want to do those services anymore. I was so out of alignment. So when I so when I went to Lourdes, I was kind of hoping that I would find out what I wanted to do, or what my kind of aligned purpose was again. And Lourdes was amazing, and there are lots of amazing experiences that happened in Lourdes that really connected me to the goddesses, because Mother Mary was not a goddess that I think of because I'm not religious. Mary Magdalene was nowhere to be seen in Lourdes. Story with her and religion, like, she's kind of takes the back seat, although Mary Magdalene's the goddess who works the closest with me, so I have channeled a lot from who Mary Magdalene actually is, the true story, rather than who everybody says Mary Magdalene is, because she's just an amazing, powerful equal to Jesus, which is a little bit controversial. But again, I just work with the goddesses, and I work to channel what they're saying rather than being told any other story from any other source. So yeah, going to Lourdes really deepened my connection to Mary, Mother Mary. I was able to sit and talk to her and write down the things she was saying, and it was a very different energy to Mary Magdalene. It was a holy energy, a really sacred, holy energy, and Mary Magdalene's almost like a sisterhood energy. So Mother Mary, like when she makes a presence, it's really, respect this energy that comes through. It is very motherly. Like, a lot of the goddesses are sisters, and Mother Mary is totally different. And even the way that she speaks, it's, she talks often of grace. It wasn't like a language that I was used to.
Yeah.
It was really lovely to build that connection with Mother Mary, and I had a lot of amazing synchronicities, experiences, things that were said to me while I was there, that are just kind of mind-blowing, really mind-blowing.
It's incredible. It's the kind of thing you hear, and it can be sometimes maybe a little bit difficult to wrap your mind around. And, especially when anyone looks and thinks about, okay, where you came from, and the growing up years and your background, in medicine and science, to be where you are now, it's an incredible, you could almost say a full 180. And yet, the fundamentals are still there with you through, there's this common thread that hasn't gone away, but there is definitely a common thread that is still there of, again, the balance, seeing things and literally experiencing situations in life and lessons from all different sides. And at the same time, being a very inward thinking person, very exploratory, and and I can absolutely see how not only that helps for all of the experiences you've had, which, let's be frank, for some people it could be really overwhelming. Some people, everything you've been through, it could be like, no, this is too much. But for you really seem to have been able to, one, heal and see your way through the other side of everything life has given you. And at the same time, you've been able to incorporate such incredible life learning lessons from all of it, which, and obviously you're able to pass those on and help others with in the work that you do.
I think, the first illness, really prepared me for everything, because again, I went through so much. It was learning all those tools to, stay happy, stay grounded, get on track, do what I love. Like, that gave me everything that I needed, so that when this thing happened after Crete, it was like, I can get myself back on track. It's all okay again. But yeah, there definitely needed to be a time from going from scientist to somebody who speaks to Mary Magdalene, we needed to take that time, because like if you'd have told me that when I was a scientist or doing radiography, I'd just be like, you're crazy. Obviously a lot of people may still think that, but there needed to be a time period for me of transition, of like growing into myself, growing into my confidence, tapping into my soul and what I'm here to do, for somebody who, for now, what it feels like is my purpose, to help people connect to their goddess selves by connecting to the goddesses. There needed to be that process. It was a process of going inwards to bring out my soul purpose. I couldn't have just, picked that from thin air. It was a process of going in, discovering what I'm here to do, and then moving forwards. And also, going back to Lourdes briefly, I wanted to discover my purpose again. And that's the intention that I set for that time. And there was one occasion where my purpose then started to reveal itself, because I went to one of the churches in Lourdes. Lights came on for Mass. I wasn't going to stay for Mass. So as I left, there were quite a lot of people coming up the stairs from the village, from the town. And there was something that I experienced that really, again, shifted me jolted me into my purpose. It was two women who, I was dressed, I think had a dress on, I had some boots, but it wasn't about what I was dressed in. And again, coming back to like kind of covering yourself there, I was covered, but I had this feeling, this love of the goddess, this love for the divine, this love for spirit, this love of life, this feeling absolutely me and connected to me. As I was coming down the stairs, one woman kind of gave me a look that could kill. Looked at me really kind of disrespectfully. And in that second, like, I just shrunk into, oh my God, who am I? And then it happened again, literally 2 minutes later, another woman did exactly the same. And again, I was just like, oh my God, shrinking, kind of averted their eyes, like looked at me strangely. And then again, I just kind of thought, what is this? Who am I shrinking for? I'm shrinking for nobody. They don't know my story. They don't know, my work or what I really believe in. And in that moment, experiencing that shrinking within me, of me holding back who I was, how I'm dressed, everything about me, my energy, and them. It just made me feel, kind of reminded me of the whole patriarchy thing, of women again dressing conservatively, of not speaking out, of holding back, of not embarrassing themselves, of not saying anything vulgar, all of that, of what women do, of holding themselves back. And that was a moment at Lords, actually, where I was just like, this is what I work with. Of helping women step into that feminine power of sexuality, sensuality, of not having to dress a certain way because of guys. Like, that's like really restricting our energy. And that was really key for me. And in that moment, I just thought, I need to create something like Lords. In my mind, I was just like, not to this scale. This place is so grand and majestic. But that started this thing of, me wanting to work with women in this way a bit more deeply, to help them like step into themselves and express themselves fully. So when I got back, I think it was the last night of Lords, I started kind of writing everything, my purpose, my message, the service that I'm going to provide in future. I'm creating a temple at the moment, which is going to be online. It was going to be physical, but eventually that may come. I'm going to do it online first. So going to Lords did allow me to see my purpose and the direction that I was supposed to head. It was great, because set that intention, and then finally I'd become aligned again.
I love this. Oh my gosh, Lisa, I could talk to you for hours. This is incredible. And you really have, on so many literal levels, had an incredibly transformational life journey. And it's continuing. It's still ongoing. And I think that's part of what is really exciting as well. And I hope will be inspirational for everyone who watches and listens to these to know that your life, your grand life adventure, I suppose is one way to put it, that it can be ongoing, that it doesn't have to have, a specific end point. And also that it's possible to truly change your life in these really tangible ways. But it's not impossible. Nothing is impossible.
I think humans are incredibly amazing beings. And of course, I'm going to be a little bit biased and say women are, because my work is with women. And, the power that women hold, like, giving birth, bringing a being out of kind of thin air, like bringing a soul in, birthing this out into the universe. Like, women hold so much power, creative potential, like tapping into their gifts, like especially their intuitive gifts, their creativity, their wisdom, everything. They are such amazing people, creatures, women. I think that's why I'm just so passionate about my work, because it is connecting them to that potential, to bring that amazingness out.
Absolutely.
And like you say, that's one of my mottos. Nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. Anything. And I think when I started this journey, I thought everything was possible and anything. But now I realize it's not anything that's possible, because that's kind of spreading yourself thin. So yes, anything is possible, but like really connecting to yourself and connecting to what you want to make possible, rather than trying everything. And this is where that connection to yourself comes, because when you connect to yourself and who you are, then you can create from your heart, not what your mind wants, but from what your heart wants, which is your deepest desire and kind of like your soul's path.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Thank you so much. For those people who have been watching and listening and, are thinking to themselves, one, that they'd like to know more about you, maybe they'd like to find out more about what you do in case they would like support as well. What are some of the ways that they can get in touch?
The best place to reach me is on Facebook. I have my own Facebook group, which is a private group, which is called the Divine Sisterhood. And that is at facebook.com/the Divine Sisterhood group. And you'll see me there on the banner. But that's really a really amazing place. So I do goddess readings within the group. Amazing engagement. It's a real, like when I have these visions of women coming together, this is what I want to create, kind of a sisterhood of women who are there to support each other, who are not in competition with each other, because each single person is an individual and is amazing. So the best place to reach me is joining that free group. And there's so much around goddesses, around stepping into your divine feminine there. So I'd suggest that.
Fantastic. And is there anything else that, maybe that you're offering right at the moment? So if there are specific ways people would like to receive support with you directly as well.
Yeah, they can just reach me in the Facebook group, or they can reach me at the email lisa@lisazoemorgan.com. But the best thing is just to PM me on Facebook. But yes, I am offering an amazing thing, which is a channeled modality from Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene. And this is what activates and ignites that divine feminine within you. Okay, so it starts that process, and literally when we do the work, it's almost like, you know, when you've got two wires coming together and it kind of sparks. That's always the way I see it when I work with clients. It just sparks their divine feminine. So that's called womb power healing. So it works with a heart, it works with a womb. The goddesses are there. They're going to work with you to heal the heart and the womb, ignite the divine feminine, and kind of really connect you back to you and start that journey of you connecting to your power. So that's one of the sessions that I would really recommend. And it's really beautiful, like it's really nurturing, like the energy of Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene there is just, it's just gorgeous. It's so supportive. The goddesses are so supportive, and they want you to connect to yourself. That's their aim. And so that's one of the sessions that I'm offering. And also, if they want to purchase that womb power healing, what I will do is I will throw in another session for free, which is me working with kinesiology and the energy blocks. So these are the fears that get in their way of them stepping into their divine feminine, of stepping into their power. So it may look like, you know, increasing their confidence with doing Facebook Lives, or expressing their truth to friends around them, or standing more in their power, or creating, you know, manifesting their house, manifesting a partner, whatever it is that's holding them back. I work with kinesiology, energy therapies, and usually in those sessions, if the goddesses want to make an appearance, they will swoop in and give advice, guidance, healing, support, you know, advice moving onwards from that as well. So a combination of the womb power healing and the block clearing is just perfect.
That sounds incredible. Quite honestly, that is amazing. And I know there will be people watching and listening where this will be a benefit to them. Everyone who watches and listens, when you go to the website, and I'm making sure that you all have this Transformational Life Series website link wherever this video is posted. It's on my YouTube channel. I'm putting on Facebook, a few other places. On the website for each speaker, and obviously this applies for Lisa as well, not only will you see a brief biography so you can learn a little bit more about them, but also you'll see a link to this video, an audio link, as well as all the ways Lisa and each of the speakers mentioned that you can get in touch with them. So I'll make sure they have those links there as well. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you again, Lisa, and everyone who has been a part of this. We thank you too. So much love. All the best. Take care.
I'll live for the good days. I'll dream of the great nights. I'll live for the ones I lost. Slide us up, we gonna meet in the afterlife. It's all sacrifice. I got the appetite to be a better man. Let's unite. My story like a motion picture. Bittersweet like shots of liquor. Let me take the pain. My skin is thicker. We one blood. I'm not pulling triggers. It's all love. And yo, here's the kicker. We working hard.